What's up, Internet? I'm Chimera, and I am bad at Homecoming City of Heroes. So Professor Lareaux got a little bit of a visual update, some new fits. I changed the look of his slacks to give it a smoother, more business-like appearance. Updated the gloves and the shoulders. He's got a new back piece. Same character concept, really. Just I thought that these costume items had to give him a better looking silhouette. There's more movement, more going on, makes it look a little bit better, in my opinion. But same idea behind the origin of the character. But we are ready to talk to the Hetman. So let's get right to it. Professor Lareaux, give me a status report on the recon patrol that went into the tunnels. I brought the innocent ones back to the surface. The innocent ones? Are you telling me you left some of my people down there with the ghouls? Only those unrepentant for their crimes against the forlorn. Are you beyond insane? Give me back that tax scanner, you self-righteous dimwit. I'll send another team to finish the job. You left them with the monsters, Professor Lareaux. Monsters. Get out of my face. You're making a mistake, Hetman. Goodbye. All right. Oh, why did it do that? Hey, future Chimera here. Through the magic of editing, I was able to get the frame where that dialogue was, and I am going to go ahead and read it to you now. So the Forlorn were willing to speak with you, even after the Hetman antagonized them so? That bodes well for any future alliance. Though I have called you it before, Professor Lareaux, my heart in full now demands that I risk its repetition. You are my good, good friend, and a boon to all of First Ward. Something doesn't quite sit right with me, Professor Lareaux. Not after your last sojourn into the tunnel. Not after your last sojourn into. Is it sojourn? Give me just a second here.
Sojourn or sojourn.
Well then. Not after your last sojourn into the tunnels of the Forlorn. The Hetman may have said that his impetus for sending the recon patrol into the territories was to gauge the potential threat of the Forlorn, but your report said that the recon patrol had orders to just go in and start shooting. That sounds like a kill team, not reconnaissance. And it just doesn't add up. Furthermore, it endangers any chance we have at forming an alliance with the Forlorn. I need you to speak with the leader of the Forlorn, Demetrius Vasilikos, on my behalf as Palatine of the compound, and see if some kind of truce can be salvaged from all of this. We'll need an olive branch. The Forlorn has no real reason to trust the compound. You're quite right, my friend, which is why I will deliver to them a genetic resequencer if they will agree to a truce. The Forlorn will be able to cure their feral cousins with such a device, and that is something I know Demetrius wants dearly. Mistress Nadia and some of my shepherds have managed to contact Dr. Helix, who has agreed to come to First Ward if the carnival can assure her a measure of protection. We're still working on that part, but the Hetman's watchful eye is making things difficult. So tension is escalating as we try to juggle the Hetman's shenanigans with Anna or Palatine's efforts to secure an alliance with the Forlorn. Demetrios is just up ahead. He seems pensive. The hetman of the compound has stepped up his game, I see. You're no ordinary kill team. The hetman didn't send me. The Palatine did. And I'm here to strike a truce. The Palatine, eh? I've heard of her. Is there some discontent in the rulership of the compound? Some of you want to kill us, others to strike an accord. How nice. Go back and tell your Palatine that I will have none of it. And tell your hetman that I will eventually wear his neck veins as a favorite bracelet. Do you topsiders even know what the Forlorn have done for you? We are keeping the ghouls back from being able to access the surface. If it weren't for the efforts of my people, your compound would have been overrun by my feral cousins ages ago. On behalf of the Palatine, I thank you for your efforts. She had no idea. She can thank us by killing the hetman. I'm not even sure if that's how I'm supposed to be pronouncing that word. I've been saying it for so long.
Hetman,
Okay, yeah. She'd like to thank you by offering a genetic resequencer instead. If your Palatine can pull that off, she will have the support of the Forlorn. And if you are truly here on her behalf, then there is something else I will demand. The ghouls have somehow breached this tunnel. The ghouls have somehow breached this tunnel section's outer containment gates. My second, noble savage, is leading the charge to reseal them, but he needs help. Help Savage seal the outer gates, and you shall have your accord. It will be done. Noble Savage is an NPC, a signature character that you meet in the Praetoria Going Rogue starter area. Um, Again, it's one of those situations where you really only meet him if you don't outlevel, uh, and if you choose the right branches, of course. Like there are branches that you take where you'll never meet him, but he's a cool dude. That's one down, one to go. Hey. I don't know which clue I'm supposed to be reading. And we're back. Had to, excuse me, had to take a short break. I got some pretty gnarly heartburn today. Unfortunately, it's making it difficult for me to even so much as focus, let alone do any cold reading. All right, here we go. When you sealed those gates, Professor Lareaux, you cemented a measure of trust between the forlorn and the compound. Mistress Nadia and the carnival have already convinced Dr. Helix to come to First Ward and prepared a safe house to meet with Demetrios. Your reports of sabotage, however, trouble me. Could it be that the Hetman's recon patrol was sent into the forlorn tunnels to find some way to overwhelm Demetrios' forces with ghouls? And if so, for what purpose? I must ponder this. For all you have done for First Ward and my place in it, Professor Lareaux, I shall always be in your debt. Mistress Nadia has set up a meeting between Dr. Helix and the Forlorn, and I would like you to attend it, Professor Lareaux. The Hetman has been growing nervous of late, and I must stay here to figure out why. I fear that he would do anything to tramp I fear that he would do anything to trump on an alliance. I fear that he would do anything to trump an alliance between the compound and the forlorn, not to mention reforging the bond we once shared with the Carnival of Light. I will need such allies if I am to secure my title of Palatine and be fully recognized as the leader of my people. They're not your people, man. We found you by accident. You're not even supposed to be here, man. Like, I don't know why they wrote her like. I wonder. I wonder if there was some cut content when they were designing this. Like, I wonder if she was supposed to originally be the dude's daughter, and then for whatever reason they had to cut that part of the story out, and then um, change the way the quest progressed early on, and that's why some of this writing seems like she was in fact his daughter to begin with. Because she was like in the last episode, she was talking about her birthright and shit like that, and I'm like, what birthright? You're not his daughter. But I kind of feel like with the way these last couple of missions have been written. I feel like at one point they were planning on her being his daughter. Who knows? I'm just I'm just cranky because of this heartburn. Please excuse the swallowing sounds. Trying to drink water, trying to stay as hydrated as possible because it's the only relief that I have right now. If you move against him first, he'll appear the victim. I am not suggesting a confrontation of violence, my friend. Only the hetman's acceptance of the monarch's last command. Something's gone horribly wrong here. You can sense it. Oh yeah, the unconscious dude isn't the first clue? Professor Lareaux. They were waiting for us. The hetman is under orders to prevent Dr. Helix from delivering the genetic resequencer. Under whose orders? From Calvin Scott, of course. When I took the Forlorn to First Ward, that lunatic branded us as traitors to his resistance. That's why the hetman had troops open the gates, so the ghouls would do the dirty work for him and save the resistance some face. Get up and let's put a stop to all of this. I fear that I am dying. You must rescue the others, Mistress Nadia and Dr. Helix. I believe Noble Savage is still in here somewhere as well. Try to help him too. The leadership of the Forlorn will be in his hands after I pass. I'll get Dr. Helix and come back for you. Just hold on, Demetrios. Demetrios doesn't answer. His wounds have claimed him at last. That sucks. I actually liked the way that I was voicing him. It made me like the character more. So we met Calvin Scott briefly in Interrogator Lareaux's episode. He is the leader of the Resistance. It's a movement that is fighting against the tyranny of Emperor Cole, or Tyrant. Tyrant is the Praetorian analog to Statesman, who is, or well, he's the Praetorian counterpart to Statesman, who is City of Heroes analog to Superman. And all of the signature heroes in this game were actually created by the developers of the game. So each signature hero represents an actual developer from the game. There's a bit of animosity in the City of Heroes community towards Statesman, the person, the developer, because long time ago, shortly after he essentially sold Paragon Studios, well, really, he sold Cryptic Studios to NCSoft. They rebranded as Paragon Studio, but he took like half the development team with him, and tried to make Cryptic Studios independent. There's a whole other story with that, but it put Paragon Studios in a bit of a bind because previously they were kind of developing the game as they wanted. Now they were beholden to a distributor, NCSoft. And so some of the things that they wanted to do, they now needed to get green lights on. And So the relationship between NCSoft and Paragon Studios in this case, for the story I'm telling, is inconsequential. The main thing is that the community wasn't happy with Statesman. I don't know the actual developer's name. I only know him by Statesman because that's who he was on the forums and whatnot. But it went so far as to get to the point where Paragon Studios created a signature story arc in the game where they kill off Statesman. It's wild. And then Tyrant was going to be an end game boss anyway. I mean, it's got nothing to do with any of that. But going back to my original point, the Resistance, just like the Loyalists, have two different branches. One that's kind of like looking out for the people of Pretoria. Like they want Cole's regime to end, but they're not gonna. But they don't resort to like senseless violence to get the point across. That's a more, you could think of it as a more heroic path for the Resistance. And then there's another path that are more on the extremist side, like bombing hospitals and civilians and shit like that. And it's a more villainous kind of take on the Resistance. And it's interesting because you've got, towards the end of the introductory starting zones for Pretoria, you've got quests where heroes are helping the Resistance, and then other situations where villains are helping the Resistance. And in later levels, in this part of the content, I've always been a little bit disappointed because the Resistance are largely depicted as being villainous, just in general, and a lot of that has to do with Calvin Scott, the leader of the Resistance. He is definitely on the more extremist side of the Resistance narratives. I just wish that there had been, some other, more temperate leader to arise to kind of be the foil to Calvin Scott. But we never got to see that. You've been played for a fool, Professor Lareaux. My kill team? Guess what? We're just a we're just part of a much larger plan orchestrated by the Hetman. Give me the details now. Why not? You'll be too late to stop it anyway. As soon as you left the compound, the Hetman declared martial law. The Hetman declared martial law. That shepherd witch and those carnival freaks are going to be executed, along with anyone that sides with them. That's not going to happen. Yeah, I expect it will. The kill team leader expires from his injuries. All right. We're going to take the fight to the Hetman. I think if I had sided with the Hetman, we'd be fighting Palatine or something like that. I don't really recall. A lot of the choices that you can make in this game seem kind of like inconsequential in the grand scheme of things in the greater narrative, but even just tiny little choices have always made me feel bad. Like if I want to go like the darker paths, some of the moral choices still make me feel bad as a person. And I love that kind of writing. I love the way things like that pan out. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers Jade Empire. That was an early BioWare game that had just an amazing morality system and like doing the bad things made me feel awful, even more so than Knights of the Old Republic. The moral choices in this game are definitely not uh, on that scale per se. I'm just, throwing that out there as an example of the type of writing and gameplay I enjoy. I'm looking for that other carny. Savage Noble is probably off somewhere getting killed because I saw some enemies nearby that I ignored. Oh, there he is. It's the carny that's off getting killed. Went and aggroed the Hetman. All right. I'm going to head back to the compound. I'm going to do some character and inventory maintenance. I'm probably going to cut away from that. And then we'll probably do another mission or two and see where we can go from there. But bit of a change since we took out the Hetman. Noble Savage is now the Hetman, which I think is cool. City of Heroes was using phasing technology um, way before Blizzard used it as a selling point in their expansions. Blizzard had been using it early on. This game is I think 6 or 8 months older than World of Warcraft. Maybe, well, between 4 to 8 months. Um, it's not much older than World of Warcraft, but point is, Blizzard was using phasing technology in the base game at the very beginning in 2004, but they didn't advertise it, and it wasn't great. They used it very sparingly um, in the base game and the first expansion, Burning Crusade. They started advertising it as a selling point in their third expansion, Wrath of the Lich King. And then that's when everybody was like, "Oh wow, phasing technology! This is such a cool new thing." It wasn't new. City of Heroes, and I'm sure other games had been using it for years before Blizzard made it famous or whatever. Anyway, be right back. Gonna cut away.
A few moments later.
Alrighty. Cleaned out the inventory, updated some of the powers that I got. Now it's time to contact Palatine again. You warned me not to move against the Hetman first, Professor Lareaux, and lives were lost because I did so unknowingly. I had no idea that he was taking orders from his resistance leaders beyond First Ward, or that my efforts to ally with the Forlorn would push his hand to such madness. In a way, he was as conflicted and haunted as the monarch. These errors are my own to live with. You should know, however, that for the passing of Demetrios, and to strengthen the bond between the compound and the forlorn, I have made Noble Savage my new hetman. Go to him, Professor Lareaux. Just as I do, he sees you as a protector of First Ward, and would have your counsel. Shall I inform Noble you are coming? Yes. I am glad, for I fear his new duties as the hetman of the compound have nearly overwhelmed him. Professor Lareaux, between you and me, I am not sure what to make of all of this. First, Demetrios' death gives me leadership of the Forlorn, and now the Palatine of the compound appoints me as its new hetman. Had you heard that? The new hetman bit, I mean. The last time my kind had made an alliance with those that opposed the Emperor's regime, let's just say it didn't end well. We found ourselves trading one kind of enslavement for another, but this feels different. The former hetman's military uprising left both the Forlorn and the compound in dire need of supplies. Our defenses, weapons, and rations are depleted at levels that discomfort me. To this end, the Palatine and I have been sending out scavenger teams into the ward, but they have met with little success. Our last scavenger team never returned, and I'd like you to find out what happened to them, and to bring back whatever they were after. Well, one of them did return, named Gully, but he's one of the new Forlorn. His mind just recently restored. He's only managed to give the Palatine and I scattered details of what happened. Start by speaking with the Palatine. I think Gully's too afraid of upsetting me to give his full report. I'll speak with Anna about the lost scavenger team. Good. I would have her advice both as my Palatine and someone that has traveled First Ward far and wide enough to... I would have her advice both as my Palatine and someone that has traveled First Ward and wide... I would have her advice both as my Palatine and someone that has traveled First Ward far and wide through the shadowed paths. Her insight is a rare thing, very rare indeed. Doot. Oof. Professor Lareaux, it warms my heart to see you again. So, what do you think of the new hetman? Noble Savage is a bold choice. The compound and the Forlorn are united. We are friends with the Carnival of Light again, as well. This unification came about only through your help, my friend, as did my crown. She's taking this thing kind of seriously. It's weird. Your humility in these matters does you credit. Indeed, all of First Ward is blessed to have found a protector in one like you. What can I do for you now? Noble Savage mentioned the compound is running short on supplies. We are, as are the Forlorn. The first scavenger teams found little to bring back, though they did not sortie far. The last team felt the mounting desperation, and perhaps this is why they are lost. Savage mentioned that one returned. Yes, a forlorn named Gully. His team was so bold as to enter the free fire zone to accomplish their mission, and though I advised that they use the shadowed paths, they abandoned them for reasons that are still unclear. He is shaken by the experience, and though Noble Savage He's shaken by the experience, and though Noble wants me to, I have not the heart to press the matter just yet. See if you can find what happened to the scavenger team, Professor Lareaux. You should know. This Gully sees you as his savior. Perhaps he will open up to you. I'll talk to Gully and find out what happened. Professor Lareaux, it is an honor to meet you. I am Gully, recently returned from the feral red haze of my previous. I guess I don't have to think about that anymore, thanks to your efforts with Dr. Helix. Tell me what happened to your scavenger team, Gully. I and I must admit something to you, good sir. The genetic resequencer restored my mind, but it also restored my cowardice. I'm afraid that I abandoned my cohort shortly after we got into the FFZ. We were using the shadowed paths to raid a dust munitions depot and something went wrong. What exactly went wrong? The shadowed paths weren't safe, at least not for us. And contrary to all the stories we have heard, the scavenger team came under attack by an apparition, and I ran for my life. When I stepped back into the real ward, even more apparitions swirled around me, running rampant through the FFZ. And what about Dust? They control the Free Fire Zone. Not anymore, not from what I saw. Dust soldiers were firing on one another all in a panic. When I saw an apparition possess one of them, I knew why. The Free Fire Zone has been compromised by the apparitions, and what remains of the scavenger team is trapped there. Here, take this. It's the same kind of tax scanner that you used before, only it's still pretty busted up from the battle with the old Hetman. I've tried to repair it, though, and key it to the frequencies of my old team members. I'll pick up their trail and find out what's happened to them. You hear the familiar sounds of dust gunfire and apparitional scream whispers. According to the damaged tax scanner, the only surviving scavengers are Rare Earth Magnet and Vandermeer, but something strange is interacting with the signals of their tracer beacons. So now we're going to see possessed NPCs. Basically, we got to be careful because I can take them out in one hit. But then these apparitions spawn. When I first played this area, I didn't realize what was going on, and I would knock one out, keep running, knocking them all out along the way, only to find that I'm being chased by like 5 or 6 apparitions. It was wild. So we have another example of a resistance NPC that is clearly on the right side of things. One thing I haven't really talked about yet is how some of the resistance fighters have these weird names. It's actually a pretty cool bit of lore. Um, During all throughout, the resistance's conflict with the Empire, occasionally a resistance member will have like a particularly adventuresome or memorable um, like fight or even kill against the PPD, the Pretoria Police Department, and they'll earn themselves a nickname based on that memorable moment. So I've got a concept for example, I've got a there's like we just saw a rare earth magnet. You can only imagine what sort of kill they could have gotten uh, from a name like that. I think there's one resistance NPC that's like named Dumpster Fire. It's they're just all kinds of hilarious shenanigans that you can imagine from the kinds of names that you see. Bro. Alrighty. In our next episode, we're going to give. Um, I don't know if we're going to be giving Palatine a call or if we're going to be headed back to the Hetman, but either way, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.